measures to legalize medical marijuana in Nebraska can appear on the November ballot, an official says, you guys. So congratulations, Nebraska, because a group is seeking to legalize marijuana for medical use in Nebraska has gathered enough signatures to get the issue before the voters this November. The state's top election official said on Friday. That's right. Nebraskans for Medical Marijuana announced earlier this year that it had garnered about 114,000 signatures, well more than the approximately 86,000 needed. For each of two petitions, one that would allow marijuana as medical use and the other to regulate the medical marijuana industry in the state. Signatures must also be collected from 5% of the registered voters in at least 38 of Nebraska's 93 counties to qualify for the ballot. And Nebraska Secretary of State Bob Envin said his office has so far verified more than 89,000 signatures for each, and that both petitions met the 5% threshold in 51 counties. Evanen also said that county election officials are still in the process of verifying signatures on the petitions, and so he has not yet certified the ballot measures. If the count reaches 110% of the total number of signatures needed, officials will stop verifying signatures and certify the petitions for the November ballot. The deadline to certify for the November ballot is September 13th, so that's 10 days from today. It's the third effort by Nebraskans for Medical Marijuana to get the issue on the ballot. Back in 2020, the group came close after meeting signature requirements, but opponents sued, arguing that it violated state rules requiring ballot measures to focus on a single subject question. Instead, they argued the measure posed two separate questions: whether residents should have the right to use marijuana for medical purposes and whether private companies should be allowed to grow and sell it. The state Supreme Court sided with the efforts of the opponents and prevented it from going to the voters. And in 2022, with only months to do so, organizers failed to collect enough signatures to get the question on the November ballot. In a quote, "After years of hard work, we are beyond excited that Nebraskans will finally have the opportunity to have their voices heard on this issue in November," said Krista Eggers, Nebraska for Medical Marijuana's campaign manager. In a quote, she says, "Our fight has been long, it has been hard, but we have never given up. Today, we celebrate that very soon patients in this state will have access to medical cannabis treatments." Lancaster County Sheriff Terry Wagner, who initially brought the lawsuit that saw the measure kicked off the ballot back in 2020, remains opposed to legalizing medical marijuana, saying it numbs down the public perception of the harms of marijuana that it does. And in an additional quote, "It's a gateway to recreational marijuana," Wagner said on Friday. "It's not medicine, it's a weed. If it were to be approved by the FDA, then my view might change," he says. In May, the federal government began to process to reclassify marijuana as a less dangerous drug, and dozens of states have legalized marijuana for either medical or adult use purposes, most recently in Ohio last November. This fall, voters will weigh in on legalizing adult use marijuana in North Dakota and South Dakota and Florida this November, you guys. Well, Nebraska, looks like you guys are going to have something to vote for in this election, and I can't wait to see how this comes out for you guys. All you Cornhuskers out there are going to go to the polls and cast your votes, and we'll see what happens. And this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News Hour. What do y'all have to say about this?
Big love to Nebraska, but I would not be surprised if this shit gets gnomed.
Oh, I see what you did there. I see what you did there, Rico. That was cute.
Damn.
That was cute. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a pretty red state, so it's going to be tough to pass.
I mean, all right, let's here's the part where Todd and I disagree again. I don't think that it's necessarily Republican versus Democrat. I think it's, if you look at the group of people there, right? These are farming communities. These are very old school, religious, I would probably blame it on the Bible thumpers and the generation of the old people that are living on farms, right? Because I think most of the younger people in Nebraska are maybe probably getting out if they feel that they have more progressive views. But the voting public is probably going to be some guy with a truck and some overalls and some Carhartt hat, which shout out to Carhartt. But I think that's probably going to be the bigger issue, is not that it's a red state, because I think it's going to be their voting public that comes back with more conservative values, and not in the political sense, in the we Jesus gun and
those guys traditionally.
One person at a time. Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, I gotta ride with Todd on this one, because because it's a red state and it's run by red regulators and the people in charge, I think this will be shot down, even if the ballot initiative succeeds.
I'm willing to bet these guys.
And swatted down like Kristi Noem did, and like Ron DeSantis will try to do in Florida.
I think it's Rico. I think it's going to pass. This is the third time. This is the third time there where they've ran at this, and the last time they got enough signatures, and the Supreme Court said meh, and it got scuttlebutt, or it got torpedoed by opponents. I try to weave in whatever vernacular I can, but it got torpedoed at the Supreme Court last time by opponents, and so I think that this might be the time where they finally get it over the finish line. I think it represents probably the will of at least enough people to get it on the ballot, if not to pass.
We've also got enough.
Not the folks that Jenny just described, right?
Listen, we've got enough.
Definitely smoke weed, okay?
Hold on, one person at a time.
Definitely overall wearing Carhartt wearing motherfuckers be smoking weed.
100%.
That is guaranteed, okay?
But not the boomer population, and that's who I'm referring to. But I think, we also have a lot more use cases, right? So we have a lot more states that have legalized. We can see tax revenue. And if you're talking about the red party, we're driven by money. So if you, in the words of my good brother, Rico Lamitte, follow the fucking money. And if this is going to be proven to be a revenue generator for the state, I could see the red side being like, you know what?
They can't get past the religious stuff. They want to save the kids.
It's only medical, so I don't see how.
Well, that's true, because the Democrats are just like kill them all. So I guess
there's a tipping point for that.
Kids.
Kill them all, let God sort them out, right?
No, but there is a tipping point for that. And look, not all boomers are against cannabis. I mean, boomers were.
That's true.
Yeah.
Free loving
growing segment of pot users.
Yeah. So I would say that look, the reality of whether or not Nebraska is going to do a about face and turn around and quell the opposition voices, which are gathering to oppose this and have been for years. But Nebraska's been on the precipice of the cannabis movement, whether they liked it or not. They put up a lawsuit against the state of Colorado back in, I think, 2014 or 15, that was basically suing the state of Colorado for allowing people to leave the state with cannabis and cross Nebraska state lines.
I remember that. That's true. I remember that.
Nebraska and Kansas, I believe, also joined that lawsuit.
Yep.
The thing is, these people have been avoiding and tiptoeing around the revenue for this long. And I believe at the root of all issues is money, okay, fundamentally. Mm-hmm. And so they are going to have to come to terms with that because they're losing money. Their enforcement interdiction is not generating enough money for them. They need to be a little more, free on the plan and on the commerce and issue these licenses and start the process, because the more they can do that, the more legitimate the interdiction becomes, right? So look, ultimately we'll see what happens, but I had a lot of friends that played ball up at Kearney, go Lopers, and I had some friends play D1 ball at Nebraska, and I've been up there. There's not a lot going on up there except for farming. These people got green thumbs. Let them farm. Let them farm the nation's best and fastest.
What about the kids?
Oh boy. Oh,
what about the kids?
Yeah, it's boring there. Give them something fun to do. Let them go trim weed.
They can't read any books, right? They can't read any books either. So,
what else are you gonna do in the middle of that cornfield alone?
Let them turn 21 and be able to enter into an industry that actually has some prospects for a state like Nebraska.
As opposed to corn.
Always vote against their best interest. The 10 poorest states are red. Right, because the population votes against revenue-generating industries like this one.
I don't know if that's necessary.
Yeah, okay. I think everybody's poor because we've had to deal with 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration, exactly. But there's also that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we did it, Joe. They can't afford food or rent now. We did it, Joe.
Or gas.
They were all rich. They were all rich while Trump was in office, and suddenly they lost all their money.
I had a hell of a lot more money.
Everybody was rich when Trump was in office, and we can't wait to be rich again when Trump is back in office.
I'm voting. I'm selfish. I'm voting my own best interest, Todd Denkin, and I think every one of you guys should do the same.
100%.
Fair enough.
It is true that Paul Manafort was richer when Trump was in office.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
True, yeah. If you're in his circle, you were richer if he let you have a couple shekels.
Yarrow was taller during the Trump administration. He should be running to the polls.
Mm-hmm.
I am running.
Todd had hair. Todd had hair. Like, everything was great.
Oh, man. I'm crying over here.
All right, we're going to keep this train rolling. We are